Hello and Ayubowan to everyone who is joining us today with the Youth Summit on Climate Change organized by SLYCAN Trust and the Directorate of Climate Change, Ministry of Environment of Sri Lanka. My name is Suramya Hettiarachchi and I'm the Advocacy Manager for SLYCAN Trust. Nipun Dias is our Research and Program Officer at SLYCAN. He will be our session coordinator today, and as you know, this is the fifth consecutive year we are hosting this summit, and of course the first time that we are going virtual. So we hope every one of you all are keeping safe wherever you are, and we are also taking this opportunity to say hello and hi to everyone who's joining us from Facebook, because this is streaming live on Facebook, as you would probably already know. Now, earlier this month, we called for proposals in 4 thematic areas as part of the Youth Forum engagement work that we do. And we have 14 proposals shortlisted for this. And these areas were climate change and disaster risk, biodiversity, oceans and coastal ecosystems, as well as sustainable food systems. Now, the list of these proposals, and you can see this, we will put it on our chat box right away. And you will be able to look at these proposals, go through it, and you also get the chance to vote for them. So choose very wisely. You get to vote only once, and you can do that. So Nipun will also walk you through this process. So over to you, Nipun.
Hello, yes. The voting process is quite easy. Give me a minute to share my screen. Okay, the first thing you have to do is go to our website. I'll share the link in the chat box, and then all you have to do is go carefully about each project proposal. We have about 14 project proposals that we have selected for as shortlisted proposals. So go carefully about those proposals, and only you can vote is you can cast about only 2 votes for the as voting. Just go through each project proposals, and what you can do is click this button and you can see this screen, and you can enter your email and just begin, and you can select 2 project proposals and cast your votes. That's how you can do it. I'll share the link in the chat box, and the voting process is quite easy. So please do the vote for your friends or the colleagues or your favorite proposals. So just that's how to do it.
Thank you, Nipun. Thank you very much. Cast your vote for the favorite proposal, and we look forward to those votes. The votes are coming in, so it's actually quite engaging to see so much activity, and we're very pleased about it. Now, coming back to the session today, our session topic is sustainable consumption and production, and the panelists will be making individual presentations, after which we will have a short Q&A session. And we request you to type in your questions in the chat box so that we can present it to our panelists. If you are engaging with us through Facebook, you can also type in your questions, and we will try to moderate it here. Well, I will not speak any further. I've spoken enough. Now is time for the panelists. Our first panelist is actually Dr. Thusita Sugathapala. He is the Senior Consultant in Climate Change and Sustainability Development at SLYCAN Trust. He has a wealth of knowledge, and he will be speaking about a general overview about sustainable consumption and production. Over to you, Dr. Sugathapala.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the introduction. So basically, I hope you can see the presentation. I am talking about, so under this panel discussion on sustainable consumption and production, my task is basically to, put the foundation in the big picture, like how this SCP, sustainable consumption and production, and it's integrated to SDG. And of course, the role of youth, especially by looking at the education aspect. So I'm talking about this SDG, SCP, education, and youth nexus. So my I'll take around 5 minutes just to present these areas, the big picture. That's basically sustainable development and sustainable development goals. And then we'll go into the sustainable consumption and production aspect, especially looking at the education, highlighting the role of youth. So basically, I think all of you are aware, of these SDGs and their core principles. So those are important aspects to be understand. So we have this SDG aligned with what you call 5 Ps, the planet, people, prosperity, which are the 3 dimensions of sustainability, the environment, society, and economy. Then also we have peace and partnership, like institutions, and then partnerships as another key area. So now here we are looking at these core principles like universality, and then no one leaving no one behind. The interconnectedness, that's also important, very important aspect. The inclusiveness and the stakeholder partnership. So when you look at this as an overall thing, we can see this SCP is coming as a key, as one of the SDGs. And also the education. So therefore, of course, SCP and education are very important elements in SDGs, and these are interlinked. And therefore, education for sustainable development in general, or education for SCP, because ESCP is central to achieving SDGs, in which role of youth is apparent. So when you go into details, you'll find that interlinkages. So when you look at the SDGs, just here, not to go through it, but just to see there are many interlinkages. So that's why I say that, these are interlinked. So the indivisibility is, is the key aspect. So here we can see SDG 4 talking about the education, quality education. Within that, the role of youth is, highlighted strongly. Then, of course, we can see SCP as well as the climate action, SDG 13, climate action. SDG 12, SCP, all are interlinked. So we can see how these are, placed within the broader picture of sustainable development. When you go into SCP, sustainable consumption and production, again, we can map it like how these are connected to the other areas of, challenges or the goals. So we can see again, SCP kind of central to most of the other development goals. So energy or health, cities, poverty, climate change, all are there, hunger and gender, and we can see the education also. When we look at education and SCP, that's the topic I want to just touch upon. One of the initiative with the Sustainable Development Goals is this 10-year framework program for SCP, we call 10 YFP. Within that, there are several functional areas. One of the function is I just listed there to indicate the role of education, the raising awareness and engaging society, with a particular focus on school system education, and particularly among youth. So youth is highlighted there in integrating education for sustainable consumption and production, ESCP, in formal, non-formal education programs. So it's capture everything basically, the youth, the whole, lifelong learning in SCP. So therefore, it's very clear the youth role within sustainable development goals, especially SCP is, apparent. I mean, look at SCP tools. In fact, I'm not going to detail there. I think Mr. Kumarasiri will discuss on SCP tools, but just want to highlight there, although we understand the concept, the SCP implementing this one need competencies. So there are many actions identified, but then you won't be able to, make it a reality unless you have the education awareness, what you call competencies. There are many things, but let's say if you look at the sustainable lifestyle, it's one of the elements. I mean that, to have this type of, interventions, you need competencies within the actors or the whole society. So therefore, education become the key. So sustainable lifestyle is one of the key challenges. In fact, moving from the present unsustainable features or lifestyle to sustainable lifestyle is very complex task, which basically shaped by the needs, desires of individuals, which finally evolve to the institutional level and national or international level. But these are maneuvered by social and institutional contexts like influencers and motivators. Finally will decide your choice. So therefore very difficult to go for sustainable lifestyle, but then without that you can't achieve sustainable development goals. So that we look at the transformational change towards sustainable lifestyle, it's a complex task which involves many levels of and many domains, many people, many governance levels and institutions. So we have to capture all these things when we look at the education, the immediate context like home, neighborhood, or whatever, intermediate context, the city, your institution, and so on, and also the border context, the country, or maybe local authority or province, or even the international level. So therefore, education for sustainable consumption production is a central feature which is required for transformational changes. So these competencies we usually categorize into 3 levels: the cognitive competency, the knowledge, learning to know; methodical competency, the skills, learning to do; attitudinal competencies, the behavior or values, learning to be. So those 3 represent a set of core competencies. So then we look at the education, we had to cover this, in fact, throughout the lifelong education process. So it's basically the education for sustainable development or education for sustainable consumption production. We have a more broader approach covering formal, informal, and non-formal education means from early childhood to adulthood. So we can see here the role of youth, because most of the intervention we are looking at in the education systems basically capture the youth. So therefore, the role of youth in education, contributing to sustainable development goals with SCP, sustainable consumption production, it become central. So that's the message I want to indicate that. So the going for change lifestyle and SCP is a must, for which we need competent people, especially youth. So therefore, we need education, awareness, capturing the lifelong learning process. So that's basically I want to just share with you, so we can have more discussion with during the question and answer time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sugatapala. That actually gives us a good entrance to the rest of our panel and our discussion. I would like to now invite Mr. Samantha Kumarasena, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Cleaner Production Centre of Sri Lanka. He has been in the field for over 20 years, has a lot of experience. So Mr. Kumarasena will be speaking about the Sustainable Consumption Production Tools, or the SCP tools. Over to you, Mr. Kumarasena.
Maybe I have to share the screen again. Okay, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude again to SLYCAN Trust for inviting me for the panel for this time as well. Previously also I have presented in this youth forum. Thank you, Dr. Sugatapala. Your presentation laid an excellent foundation for my delivery subsequently. Sustainable consumption and production is a very important concept. In fact, to ground this concept, we need SCP tools. Then Dr. Sugatapala very clearly showed the key SCP tools in one slide. In fact, the resource efficient cleaner production, one of the tools there. When you consider RECP, so it has been practiced very much in Sri Lanka in the last 2 decades. Then most of the companies, mainly in the production side, industries are tuned to do that. And I have presented a dedicated cleaner production presentation, I think last time in this forum. So therefore, I'm not going to touch upon that tool. But in the short 6-7 minutes, I would like to today share with a couple of other tools which are really, really important for the country at this moment. And we are lagging behind in those tools. That's why I'm picking up those tools today. So first of all, this is one of the surveys that we have conducted as a National Cleaner Production Center. In fact, having worked so much in the production area, then we started working in the consumption area also. Then in 2017, we went for this survey. So under one of the UNEP funded project. So then we wanted to know from the consumer side in Sri Lanka, what is the awareness about the green products or eco-friendly products? How far are they willing to buy such products like that? So it's a lengthy survey, lengthy questionnaire, but I have picked up 3 questions. Consumption creates impact on the environment. 99% people here are aware about that. Then, in fact, I must tell you, our sample was the Western province, because this survey we wanted to first conduct to the more aware, sensitive group of people. So then 99% people are aware environment impacts are there in the products. Then selecting green, environmental friendly products instead of normal products is a responsibility of consumers. Yes, mostly about 80% is willing to take that responsibility, that they should buy the eco-friendly products to promote sustainable consumption. Then whether they are aware about the term green, sustainable, environmental friendly. Yeah, basically the clear idea about this thing is with about 60% of the people. So they just know, they have heard about the term, but they are not clearly aware what it means, how to distinguish between green and eco like that. Then, so that indicates in Sri Lanka, the awareness level is there regarding environmental friendly products, particularly when you look at the Western province where more educated people are there. Then next thing, how can we cater to that market? How can we promote the sustainable consumption in Sri Lanka? Then, as we are aware, this eco-label is one of the important tools in promoting sustainable consumption, not only for the public, but also for the not only for the people, but also for the government, like in sustainable public procurement. So then eco-label will play a vital role. So then in Sri Lanka, under recently concluded project on SCP policy component, one eco-labeling platform has been created. So under that one, very clearly it has identified that type 1 eco-label is a necessity for the country. So actually it's a type 1 eco-label is a certifiable eco-label, because there are 3 types of eco-label, type 2, type 3. Type 2 is self-declaration and type 3 is based on footprint values. It is a bit complicated. You have to go with the life cycle assessment. But type 1 eco-label is based on life cycle thinking. So therefore, we have required expertise to go for this tool. Then it is covered by ISO 14024 standard as well. Then even in the world, in a lot of countries, it is there, this certification. Then these eco-label labeling schemes are certified or having taken some membership with the Global Eco-Labeling Network, GEN. Then this GEN membership gives some recognition, validity to the eco-labeling schemes operated all over the world. As you are aware, these well-known eco-labels like EU Flower, Nordic Swan, then Blue Angels, all are members of the GEN. Then next thing, another very important tool for us is this life cycle assessment. The life cycle assessment provides the basis for a lot of SCP tools. That is the important thing. Even eco-labels are based on life cycle assessment. Then eco-design, eco-innovation, then even product carbon footprint. So everything is based on life cycle assessment. So therefore, what we need in the country is now the improvement of the LCA infrastructure. So what is this? What is meant by LCA's infrastructure? Then basically, do we have this actually life cycle software tools, LCA software tools? Then we have to develop life cycle inventory database for the Sri Lanka. Then, in addition to that, LCA expertise, because life cycle assessment is the most advanced environment management tool. Then very specialty is required to operate the tool. So therefore that expertise has to be developed in the country. Then with all the input resources, we need to have the market as well. So therefore, from the public sector, they should be prepared to go for policy making based on the life cycle thinking, life cycle assessments. Then of course, policies will be much more acceptable, sound, and pay back the results. So therefore, that awareness should come from the public sector. Then from the corporate sector also, then corporate sector should be willing to go for product claims based on the life cycle. In fact, they can follow type 3 eco-labels, environmental declarations, so that even single impact category carbon footprint calculations can be done for the products. And so therefore that gives some recognition. In fact, that is a marketing tool, but it is based on the proper science, by the time more environmental friendly, not greenwashing. So therefore that sort of attitude should come from the corporate sector as well. Lifecycle assessment covers for the ISO 14040 series, mainly 40 and 44. Then when I mention about the software tools, then CIMAPRO is mostly non-software. So in Sri Lanka, in 2 universities and at NCPC, the tool is available. Then Ubeto is another one, because especially when you are going for material flow analysis, so which is necessary for our future work, then Ubeto is much more better software tool. So therefore, those kind of things are required by us to move forward. Then before ending up my short presentation, I would like to touch upon eco-innovation. Eco-innovation, another new tool introduced by, promoted by UNEP. So then the idea is now, most of the tools that we are working at the operational level in the organizations, then why not we bring to the sustainability to the strategic level? So eco-innovation is for that. So then the business strategy of the company can be changed based on the sustainability inputs. So the entire business is based on the sustainability criteria. Then you develop a new business model for the organization. Then when you are doing that, so then you have to bring all sustainability includes not only environment, social responsibility, as well as profitability. All will be bring together. Then you go for very strong partnerships with this supply chain partners, life cycle or supply chain. So therefore, those will be much more stable business models also. So therefore, that kind of changes are necessary for the business sector to promote sustainable consumption and production. So in those 3 tools that I was touching upon, so you are connecting consumption and production. So therefore, it's a single value chain. So then with those, we will be able to take up this so-called SCP culture in the country. So with that, I would like to conclude my short presentation. I'm very happy to discuss whatever the concerns from the audience. giving more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumarasena. Thank you very much for that very informative presentation. I think we have quite a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions that I would also like to ask you, and I'm sure our attendees and participants would also have the same. The same with Dr. Sugutapala. So if you do have your questions, maybe you should write it down and put it on the Q&A section so that we can go right ahead with it once our next speaker ends her presentation. We are now inviting Ms. Nadisha Paulis, who is a writer, traveler, and storyteller, who is going to take the floor and speak about living a minimal and natural lifestyle. Ms. Paulis is an influencer and believes quite a lot in sustainable consumption. So over to you, Ms. Paulis. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarama. Thank you so much. I would first like to thank SLYCAN Trust for being the amazing people they are. I've been in touch with the things they do and the forums and the activism that SLYCAN does, and I'm really proud and happy to be part of it. Especially, I was part of this youth forum in 2018, as well as I was a contributor last year as well. So I'm very, very happy to be here. So a little bit about the consumption area. Now, I think we already spoke about the production side of it. As Lexi, what I would like to talk about is what we as consumers can do about the situation. Do you mind moving to the next slide, please? Yeah. So, I mean, we only have two homes, and that's what I would always like to think. It is our earth and our body. So when we're consuming, when we're buying things, when we're rubbing things on ourselves, lotions, eating food, we really need to be aware of where it's coming from, how it's made, who it impacts, and how it impacts our lives. So for example, I mean, if you just go to the store and buy something, it is good for us to know where it comes from and how after we use it, the life cycle of the product. Next slide, please. Sorry, yeah. So first I would like to just talk a little bit about the things that we as consumers can do. First of all, I think we would really, it would be nice for us to really know a little bit about the alternatives that we have in our daily lifestyles when we are consuming, going about our day, from food to from things we use to our clothes to our shopping. What alternatives can we use for the chemically, or rather the various things that are available in the market. Why this is important is that, see, something that I've noticed is when I'm going through when I'm going through stuff is that sorry, hold on. Something that I notice is that, you know, there's so much of stuff out there, you know, so much of options, but and there's a lot of marketing, you know, telling us what to buy, what to eat, what to do. It gets a bit overwhelming, you know, and there's a lot of like attractive things, sort of appealing things that we can consume. But I would really like us to take a few steps back and see what we as consumers have a responsibility to kind of be more cautious, conscious, and more responsible with our purchasing. Which is why I always, you know, encourage people to look at alternatives that are more natural for us when we're going through some, because, sorry, next slide, please. Sorry, hold on. Oh, sorry, could you go back to the previous slide? Sorry. Sorry, speaking about the alternatives, here are some of the things that I personally use. I talk a lot about sustainable sanitary products online, and I try to promote the period cup as opposed to the what do you call, the traditional sanitary napkins that we use. Because for me, just by switching to that one single product, I have realized that it's a world of change that has come to me in terms of my health, in terms of the financial element of the whole transaction, as well as my impact on the planet. For example, as a bleeding woman, as a menstruating woman, we women use a lot of I would say sanitary napkins during our lifetime. So if a single innovative product like the period cup or even the cloth pad could make a change and reduce the waste that we reduce the waste that we use, it would, I think, make a really big change. Also, so for example, I try to use various like natural stuff like baking soda, vinegar as cleaning agents, as well as I try also to use things like handmade stuff, handmade soap, handmade cream, for example, to just not use a lot of the things that are out there in traditionally, like when you go to the supermarket, there's a lot of plastic packaging, there's a lot of chemicals, which I feel my body can do without. See, a lot of us consumers, we go on about doing our lives, going about things without really knowing what goes into our body. For example, I know like a lot of mothers who have babies, they would really go a long way to realize what products you give to your baby, because you're so conscious about them. You don't want them to react negatively, their body to react negatively for the product. So why not all the other things as well? Like that's the big question that I always seem to have. Why do we, just rub something on ourselves or consume something without really knowing what goes into it? So again, coming back to that awareness question, as consumers, I would really like all of us to be more aware of what goes into us, and that way be able to make better choices in sustainability. Sorry, the next slide, please. Right. So coming back to the reducing thing, again, I would like to share a few of the things that I do for reducing like a consumption or using alternatives. Things like, it's just daily lifestyle changes, little changes that I felt, it might not be a big deal, sometimes, or using for example, reusable water bottle has cut down a lot of me using plastic bottles, for example. So I would just like to show little bit life changes that you can do to kind of help in this grand scheme of things. Next slide. Sorry, next slide, please. Right. Okay. So this is one of my favorite things. See, when we're again, I would really like us to see what choices that we can, sorry, the slide before that. Oops, yeah, that. The slide before that, the polar scene. There we go. So a little bit about buying local and why it's so important for us. No, the next one. The next one, sorry. Yes, this one. Hold on. This is one of my favorite scenes from the Mount Lavinia Polar, where I shop weekly. Why I think it's so important for us to buy local and shop locally is because we really directly influence somebody else's life. A few things actually. First thing is something I always say is, if you can buy something from a person that made it, I think that would be really, it's a really, it transforms into so many other things. For example, you will be giving them their life, their income, their daily income, as well as you would be again cutting down the production process, I would say, rather than, for example, you buying a big brand of clothing, as opposed to buying it local or getting it sewn from somebody that would it would cut down a lot, as well as yeah, even I think what is it? For me, when I go through these little life changes, I notice that I'm spending very less. It's actually very cheaper and more affordable to be having these little life changes, or are they even buying locally? Something that I've noticed is, like, for example, if a supermarket were to open in the vicinity, the little stores in the area, I notice, like, the what do you call, their income, their demand for products goes down. So something that we can all look into is to buy locally from our local supermarkets, our local sellers, our local farmers, if that's the case, as well as just buying locally. I think I would like encourage all of us to buy locally. Next slide, please. So one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to living a sustainable lifestyle. I think a lot of us are very happy or would really like to do all of the changes or the little changes that I mentioned before. But when it comes to food, I think that is the biggest the change that we can do to as individuals, as laymen, as normal people in society. Not policy makers, not decision makers, but just laymen in society, is to have a more plant-based diet. Because I think there was an Oxford study done where they say a vegan diet or a plant-based diet would be the single biggest change maker when it comes to reducing the effects of climate change and rather global warming. That would be mainly because you are probably more aware of this, is that, you know, the agricultural land that goes into it, the resources that go into making meat, dairy, and all the other animal products is just so much more than what we use to make like more plant-based food. And I'm seeing a lot of people. I think, again, if this the change is more seen in the Western world, I suppose, where people are more aware of all this, of all the climate change issues. But I think, you know, as the Eastern, as Sri Lankans, I think we have a upper hand in all this, because look at all the food that we have, you know, in Sri Lanka. I was told by somebody that we have about 300 types of vegetables alone in Sri Lanka. So it's for me, I think Sri Lanka is a haven for vegans and more vegetarians, because we just have such a lot of food, and it is very easy for us to make that change from reducing dairy and animal-based products, meat, to a more vegetarian and more vegan diet. I think SLYCAN Trust does a lot of work in that sense, where I love the fact that they, you know, have food, mostly vegan and vegetarian food during their forums as well, which we are probably missing this time because it's virtual. But that's what, like, I think the single biggest thing that we can do is to really switch or slowly transform our diets into more plant-based or plant food. As you can see, these are some of the food plates that I show on my Instagram daily, and people just love it. There's so much variety. See, what happens here is where, you know, you go to a kade, you ask for a vegetarian meal, they would just omit the fish and the meat and the eggs or whatever, and that's just it. But you will be left with like 2 or 3 curries, which is not really enough, and it is not very appealing for us to, you know, not eat a lot. But a more vegan vegetarian diet means that you eat a lot more plant-based food, as opposed to you know, eating a little more starch, for example, more rice, more bread, for example, than actual plant-based food. And of course, there are so many studies that show that it is an incredibly healthy choice for us to make. And I know it's sometimes hard for us to do that, just like just out of the blue, but little changes maybe. So it's like one of the really nice projects that SLYCAN Trust does is a Meatless Monday, where they encourage us to not eat meat or not consume animal products for 1 day of the week. So perhaps we could start like that if you would like to make that change. Yeah, so sorry, the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is really a heartbreaking photo I actually saw on Instagram done by this person. This is an elephant eating garbage in, I believe, where was it? Can't really remember where it was, but an elephant eating garbage. So I know, like, we Sri Lankans, we love our elephants, all of that, but it's, for me, this photo is something that I would like to leave you all with. Because, see, the little actions that we do, the changes or the choices that we make really do have a larger impact, which goes beyond of what we really see to the world. And this picture to me is a kind of a dark reminder that we are all kind of responsible for what is happening, and for us to really be more inspired to make change towards that change, the sustainable future. And the next slide, please. And that would be, yeah. Thank you so much. That is, I'm just, done with my presentation. This is something that I like to leave people with, to say, choose activism and a plastic-free bathroom. Thank you so much.
Poster stopped it. The video. Hello, Nadisha, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Nadisha. I think my video will start in a bit. Ashan's video needs to be switched on as well. Yes. So thank you very much, Nadisha, and all our panelists for this very, very interesting session that we've had. We have a lot of questions that we want to ask the panelists, and starting off, I think I will start it asking Dr. Sugathapala if you are there. Dr. Sugathapala, I just need to know, since you have been in this scene for quite a long time, do you see a change in the consumption patterns in terms of sustainability in Sri Lanka? Is there a change?
I think there are initiatives to make a change, but when you look at the reality on the ground, it is still limited to a fraction, a very small fraction of the society. So that when you look at the impact by these changes as a whole, especially towards the SDGs or even the climate, targets, is not there. So when you look at the overall indicators, even the global, temperature rise or other global level or even national level indicators, we don't see much. So therefore, in that context, although we have a lot of initiatives, and so on, but look at the real impact, I would say it's not satisfactory. We had to do a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Sugathapala. You can also ask questions, putting it on, typing it in the question and answer section here. I have yet another one to Mr. Kumarasena now. Mr. Kumarasena, there are lots of processes that we can go through to get this certification, to get all of this. If you are interested as a production company, if you're interested in it, what are the first steps that we can do to get this sort of certification?
Yes, in fact, certifications are quite different types. Then I just mentioned here about the eco-labeling certificates. Then companies have to first improve their performance to meet the required minimum standards. So therefore, that is not a big issue, because right from the beginning of eco-labels in Europe, they promoted this eco-label in such a way that when we conduct the eco-audit, then you recommend certain solutions where you can save water, energy, material, so that you can, let's say, you have a trade-off that you can compensate the incremental costs in changing into the environmental friendly chemicals and so on with that resource savings. So therefore it's a win-win situation, so that they have to do that internal changes within the organization. If they have done that with various tools, then of course, then they can start with applying for the certification. Then there will be third-party verification. Then when they are on track, then they will be getting the logo or certificates. So that is the basic steps there.
We have also got another question, Mr. Kumar Sena. How do you make a space in the market for eco-innovation? Because majority of the population have not enough awareness or less awareness. How do you make that space?
Eco labels actually, so then there should be some awareness. You are correct. Now, as in CPC, we have done some awareness for some leading supermarket chains about these things for their own staff. So then starting from there, then because the idea behind the eco label should be communicated to the consumer. So then it should be done through mass media as well. However, what we think is now, if we can promote to a company who is willing to obtain this certificate, then of course they will take that media campaign after that, so that this label is received by us, this is the idea behind the label. Like that, then automatically this message will be passed to the consumers. So on the other hand, what we expect is now, it is not only in Sri Lanka, in a lot of countries, this greenwashing is there. That means those are, in other words, it is bogus claims. So then to show that they are green, environment friendly, but without doing that, you can go for a scientific basis, then really you can genuinely become environmental friendly, at least a couple of attributes in their production and other processes. Then you can offer that product with the marketing campaign to the consumer. That will really help to raise the awareness and customer also becoming informed customer, so that it's a science-based claim, so that actually this process has to be taken up. So therefore this campaign should be brought by government, by the corporate sector, as well as by the organizations like ours. Everybody should participate in that campaign to bring the message to the consumer.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar Sena. Dr. Subutapala, just to check, how in terms of questionnaires and the research that you do, how can we bridge this divide? What in terms of having all the key stakeholders also getting involved in it, how much of an impact would the youth have in this? Because are they able to create that change within their families, or is it just them, or do we have to wait another 10-15 years for this to really kickstart?
Yeah, that's where the education come in. So this education doesn't mean the school, whatever formal education. We are talking about education, for lifelong education. So informal, non-formal education means the media, this type of awareness programs, the conferences, all are part of that. So we need this integral or holistic approach in education. That's basically what we call education for sustainable development, or education for the sustainable consumption and production, capture that. So I shown earlier that this education should start with early childhood education from the birth to maybe year 3 or year 4, where your parents are the educator, your family members for the kid. You have to start from there. Then the school, primary school, secondary school. Then we talk about the university or tertiary education, then vocational, technical, and finally adulthood, or CPT program, and so on. So this whole thing should capture basically in the program. So typically this education program, like UNESCO is leading that education for sustainable development. Then they are driving this the education for sustainable consumption, production, and so on. For example, in Sri Lanka, we have developed this education plan program for the whole lifelong education, covering this 6 level of education. So at the implementation, this education from early childhood to school to university and so on has to be done. So that transformational change in the competency and awareness is important. So this awareness, one side, the understanding the issue and the solution, and then secondly, having capacity to do something. So now we look at the competencies, especially in maybe developing countries and Sri Lanka especially. We know how to learn because we are very good at passing exams and so on. So therefore, I would say learning to know is usually we are okay. But when you look at learning to like only the knowledge will not give a contribution to the society. Like we need to have the competency to do it as well as competency to be part of the solution. So that's what I call learning to do and learning to be. Those two areas are not usually captured properly in education program. So therefore, we are very good at talking, but then we are very weak in doing something and also be part of that. So therefore, I think we need transformational change in our education system. What I'm not saying this is school, what a formal education is the whole learning process. So I think that's where we have to start. And then with that, there will be a transformational change in the people think, then they will act and they will be part of the solution. So I think so education is a must, and especially the youth will have to make that leading role, because we are too old, to act now, and youth can make a change. Like when a son or daughter in a family talk on those, the whole family, the parents will act on that. So therefore, the youth will have a major role to play in this transformational change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sugatapala. And I think as far as learning to be, I think that is where Nadisha comes in. So I will direct this one last question to you, Nadisha. Your process of learning to be, I think, is very, you have a presence in Instagram as well, where this is where you actually actively promote this. So you are in every sense trying to live a sustainable lifestyle. How has that journey been, and how well are people taking this? What is the sort of engagement you have with other people who would have been, who you would have inspired yourself?
Okay, so personally, I think for me, it's been a very creative and a very crazy journey. I think I really love the process. I'm learning so much about myself and the world around me, and I'm actually, each of these, the changes I've made, they really impact me in my life and the lives of my family members in a very positive way, I would say. And even on social media, I do get, I get very, very positive engagement. I think people are inspired, especially by the food. I think not many people, Sri Lankans, realize that we have such a lot of, my mouth is watering while I'm talking. It's such a wide palette of food, such a lot, basically, of all sorts of colorful, nutritious food that we don't, realize. And I think that is a very positive thing, rather than, I mean, I try not to talk about the animal cruelty and all of that, although it is a part of the whole thing, just to inspire people to, try new things, and just to trial it and not get too stressed about it. So a lot of people also really get overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, the planet is dying. What do I do? It's not about, really getting upset. I know it's sometimes very, very difficult when we hear certain news items or certain various things that really, shock us. But I think it's about matter of just taking baby steps and going through and doing a few things that you think will really benefit you, and just trialing. I think as consumers, like what the panelists really mentioned, we have a lot of responsibility as youth, especially, like what do we do, what do we use? It really has a big impact on you, I think. So I think there's a lot of, information online, internet, peer groups, even, resources like centers like SLYCAN Trust. We have a lot of information available. It's just a matter of taking it, absorbing it into our lifestyle, basically.
Thank you very much. And I taking that into consideration, I would like to thank all our panelists for this very informative session. There is a lot. So we have spoken about national policy level as well as in a very personal, individual level through Nadisha's journey as well. So I think it's important that we go through all of these learning processes, educate ourselves, like Dr. Sugatapala mentioned, and take that step towards sustainable consumption and production. So with that, we take leave from this session. We will have another session in 5 minutes. It is for our Tamil speaking viewers and followers. It's on ocean and coastal ecosystems. We'd like to and encourage you to also be a part of it. Thank you, everyone. Remember, the voting is still on until Friday. So to do vote for your favorite proposal. And thank you, panelists. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of it. Thank you for being participants of this. And have a safe
and healthy, sustainable lifestyle in this very crazy situation that we live in. So bye-bye, and thank you very much, everybody.